In today's world, we are surrounded by all types of visual communication. Be it in traffic, at airports, in product packaging, social media, advertising, or in the very identity of brands, visual communication is everywhere. And just like everywhere else, it is also central to the development of a presentation. Keeping that in mind, today we'll be discussing some of the golden principles of visual communication in presentation design. So whether you're just starting out on your design journey or you're a seasoned presentation professional, keep these design principles handy in your creative toolkit. Let's start with design principle number 1, which is content first, design second. Before you think about designing anything, you've first got to finalize the content you want to display on each slide. The words you write will dictate how the slides are visualized, and that is your first step on your journey to designing an effective presentation. Once you have your content hashed out in written form, decide what goes on which slide by putting your ideas onto post-it notes and organizing them into a desired flow. Design principle number 2. Strip back the copy. If you're planning on splitting a slide into a group of bullet points and an infographic, you're brewing the recipe for a very congested presentation. You don't want to put your messages in a position where they have to compete for audience attention. By this point, you should have cut away the excess fat of your messaging, leaving only the most impactful sound bites. Breaking your points up will give your listeners room to digest each of your ideas one at a time. Now that we've sorted our content, it's time to harness the core design principles that we should keep at the forefront of our minds whenever we design presentation layouts. So let's address each of them individually. Let's start with design principle number 3, white space. Vibrant images that fill the slide can be quite eye-catching, but inevitably you are going to need to place other content onto your slides, be it text, figures, or charts. This is where white space in presentation design becomes crucial. White space or negative space helps to create areas of contrast with clear focal points. The use of white space can make your message stand out above the clutter and break down information into more digestible pieces. White space or negative space can also serve as a form of contrast that allows you to convey a more direct message. Let's move on to design principle number 4, grids. Grids are a basic tenet of any compositional design. Artists, photographers, and graphic designers have long employed the rule of thirds to create balance in their compositions. The rule of thirds involves dividing a composition into a grid composed of 2 horizontal and 2 vertical lines, or basically 9 separate sections. So when it comes to a presentation design, a grid system is important as it helps you lay out content in clear, easy to follow sections. Of course, depending on the type of presentation, the rule of thirds may only serve as a starting point. You can create grids within grids to create a more complex layout and yet still retain a consistent feel running across all your slides. Design principle number 5 is Proximity. The proximity principle doesn't mean that everything is closer together. It means elements that are related should be grouped together and be visually connected. In presentation design, proximity helps your audience understand what images, graphs, or data are related to each other. It helps create an easy-to-follow visual flow. It's important that your audience doesn't have to decipher the information being presented. Proximity and negative space are interconnected, and you should keep both in mind while designing your layout. And design principle number 6 is repetition. Also known as consistency, repetition is a conscious effort to unify all parts of a presentation design. Repetition simply means the reusing of the same or similar elements throughout the design. Repetition of certain design elements in a slide or among a deck of slides will bring a clear sense of unity, consistency, and cohesiveness. Which is why we have ready-made templates in the first place, because they have consistency built right into the slides. Repetition is effective because people are naturally attracted by repeating patterns. It's a simple way to add visual consistency and gives your audience a visual anchor to follow. However, be careful not to have too much repetition. Instead, try to maintain variety with consistency. And our design principle number 7 is contrast. Contrast is a design principle that creates visual interest in your slides. Making use of contrast can help you create a design in which one item is clearly dominant and has a clear focal point. If all elements in our designs are of equal weight with weak contrast and with nothing being clearly dominant, it is difficult for the viewer to know where to begin. Aside from adding visual interest, contrast is also essential for content visibility and legibility. If there isn't enough contrast between your text and the background, or enough color contrast between the lines on a graph, your audience is going to have trouble reading and understanding your content. For example, if you are giving a presentation using a projector, it's a good general rule to assume the colors are going to be projected 20 to 30% lighter than what you're looking at on your computer screen. There are a few types of contrast to consider. For example, we can consider it by size, by shape, by shade, or by color, and finally by proximity. So think about all these things while designing your slide. The principle of contrast is closely related to our principle number 8, which is colors. Colors are a key principle of presentation design. Setting the right color palette is essential, and it gives everything a consistent feel, allowing you to adhere to your brand and can give you the ability to assign meaning to specific colors to help your audience understand things. One of the key mistakes that people make when they create a presentation is not thinking through their color choices. Most people just pick colors at random. But color is a key way that you can communicate visually, so it's important to be purposeful. Remember, it's not only which color you use, it's how you use it. People will draw connections between the colors you use and the meaning you assign to them. Our design principle number 9 is focal points. The focal point design principle is all about making one particular piece of your slide stand out first. It could be an image, a data set, or even a piece of text, depending on the type of presentation you're making. Most of the principles we've discussed until now, colors, grids, proximity, etc., all work together to create focal points in one way or another. What is crucial to this kind of design is that the focal point arrests your audience's vision, and from there, the rest of your slide should be designed to maximize visual flow from the focal point to key succession points. And last, but definitely not the least, we have design principle number 10, alignment. Like proximity, alignment is a crucial principle that creates a sense of unity and cohesion, keeping your design balanced and presentation style proper. The whole point of the alignment principle is that nothing in your slide design should look as if it were placed there randomly. Every element should be connected visually. Many people fail to make an effort to apply the alignment principle, which often results in elements being almost but not quite aligned. This may not seem like a big deal, but these slides look less sophisticated and overall much less professional. And before we end, I'll leave you with a bonus tip. Know your audience. Presentations are made to be presented in front of a specific type of audience. Knowing your audience is important in not only constructing the content but also making adjustments to the entire design of the presentation. It should go without saying that ensuring your audience is able to clearly understand the content that you are presenting should always be your top priority. So while designing, try to make certain your audience will be able to engage with the content before considering how awesome your slides can look. By applying these key principles of presentation design, you can make sure your presentations really stand out and deliver both an effective and entertaining experience. So if you found this content helpful, do leave a like and maybe even share it with others. Thank you for watching and see you next time.